She's in. Oh,
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 20th, 2024 business meeting for the Newton Township. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 3 on the agenda, we have chair comments. The board met an executive session before the meeting to discuss personnel and litigation matters. Agenda item number 4, we have a presentation from the Victim Services Unit in Central Bucks Regional. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Denise Spence. I'm Chief Knox Executive Assistant and Grant Administrator for Central Bucks, and this is Karen Edwards. She's our Victim Specialist, working with us since 2020 when we started the Victim Services Unit. We just want to give you a brief overview of why we have the unit, how we got here, what the unit does, and some of the short-term and long-term outcomes. This is just a picture of the two ladies, Karen right here and Liz over there. There are 2 full-time victim services specialists, and the other gentlemen are detectives from each of our collaborating agencies. They work very closely together. So in 2018 and 19, we were selected, Central Bucks Regional was selected as one of 6 in the nation to be a pilot site to look at police services and how we interact with victims, especially for intimate partner crimes and domestic violence. As a result of that came the use of the lethality assessment, which is a 10-11 questions that are asked by a police officer of a victim at the time of an incident. And it determines what type of danger are they in? Are they in immediate danger? And what can we offer them? The IACP, that's International Association of Chiefs of Police, while we were a pilot site, we put new policies in place, and they gave us trauma-informed interview training to the officers. But once that was done, we were done. The training was done, and we did not want it to be a flash in the pan. We wanted to have an impact. Out of the training came out that the typical interaction with police and victims is the night of the incident. Then there's a long period of no contact until they're in court. And the result of that is a lot of victims would recant and not testify. We have NOVA and A Woman's Place. They have a lot of organizational capacity issues, staffing issues. Their hotline sometimes takes up to 6 days for them to respond. And they know it's a problem too. So we wanted to work in tandem with them. They support the victims. We just kind of catch the holes and walk the victim from start to finish so that victim services is with the victim during detective interviews. They will call them and give them updates on cases. And we'll go through exactly what they do. Karen will do that in a minute. So we created the law enforcement-based collaborative victim services unit. Once we created what it looked like, we went out to find funding because municipal budgets just cannot afford to do it. So we are on our 2nd round of grants. We have just put in for our 3rd grant, and we anticipate getting it. And if not, we will continue looking for grants. In the meantime, we have a police foundation who has raised over $40,000 to bridge the gap, because we know it's coming at some point when one grant ends and another one doesn't quite begin yet. So that money is sitting in reserve to help us through that period because we do not want to lose these employees. Karen, you want to talk about this, the difference between the two?
Basic difference between system-based and community-based, when you come down to it, is confidentiality. In victim services, when we work with a victim or police officer, if they tell us information, we can share it with an officer. If you go in community-based victim services, they do not share information that a victim tells them of something that happened in the case or something that happened that night or a connection that they had. So we are able to share that with officers as opposed to community-based is not able to. That would be like a Woman's Place or Nova, where they're not gonna breach the whole setup of a victim. That's what it basically boils down to.
And so the system base, which we are, we only work with victims who are involved in an active investigation. Once the case is closed at court, we're done, we step away. If they need additional services, they're going to lean on the community-based advocacy. One more point I want to just bring up on this. So when we started in 2020, there was a little bit of an issue with our external partners, Nova and A Woman's Place. Within 6 months, we had that gap bridged. Not me, the Victim Services Unit meets with all the external partners monthly. That includes the DA's office Victim Witness Program. You have a couple of other.
Yeah, our external partnership group is composed of the DA's office Victim and Witness Unit, which we keep in touch with them more than once a month, but as a collective group, we meet once a month, share information on cases. Actually, when we handle the cases on the victims level up to the district court where there's a preliminary hearing, our referral afterwards is done to the DA's Victim Witness Unit. It's like a handoff and a race. You hand the baton off to the next one and they move it in the progressive state of court matters through common pleas. So we have the DA's office, Victim Witness Unit. We also have A Woman's Place. We have Nova. We have juvenile probation. It's about it.
But that's been going on for 2 years now, so they've really made some solid relationships there so that we're working in tandem, not against each other.
And we send referrals up to each of those units in all the information that we find out from the officers working on a case. We share that up to common pleas, so everybody's on board and it's an open level of communication, which is rare nowadays in most instances.
So this is Liz Leone. She's the VSU supervisor. Both Karen and Liz are nationally certified victim advocates. And you can see their experience there. What we liked about this when we hired both of them is Liz comes with social services experience at Bucks County, and Karen came to us with 23 years of court experience. And the two together, they're really a dynamic duo. They're able to hand off victims to each other and support in different areas, which is great. On the left, there is the services that are provided. Karen, do you want to talk about, let me just say this, we're the lead agency over here. So Chief Knott has oversight of the entire department, US VSU. They are employees of Central Bucks, grant funded. And then the collaboration now exists of Central Bucks, Doylestown Township, Plumstead Township, Buckingham Township, and there you are in blue. We hope you'll join us. So they have office space in our department, and then they will visit each department weekly. And we'd hope you give them some space. All they need is a table. They come with their laptop and their cell phones. And the purpose to embed themselves in the police department at least once a week is to get to know the officers and the detectives so that there's an open communication flow. And we're not a flash in the pan. We're here to stay. Refer your victims to us. And then they can work together better that way. But if there's no presence, they're forgotten again. So go ahead, Liz. Yes, Karen.
For support services, advising victims of rights. Lots of victims are not fully aware of what their rights are, so we share with them what information they're entitled to, what information they can get. Those victims do not know if it happens to be a crime where somebody is incarcerated. They don't know the sites or information that they can log on to that will give them updates if that offender is released from prison. that's something they're entitled to. Most don't know. We accompany them to the court to let them know what lies ahead in the preliminary hearing, what the purpose of it is, and what will happen up at the common pleas level. Most are awkwardly sit in silence and not aware of what is coming forward in the court process. But since we've been there, we've been able to walk them through and make them feel much more comfortable. We provide emotional support, safety planning for those areas. I've assisted lots of people with victims' compensation. More or less, the elderly have fallen prey to a lot of fraud and lost a lot of money. During COVID, it was very prevalent. Since then, it's still prevalent. I've been able to fill out victims' claims and get them a sizable amount of money back through victims' compensation from the fraud that they've lost, and also giving them safety tips on how to avoid any further fraud encounters. Because believe it or not, victims get re-victimized of the same crime, same fraud several times. Our referrals to external partners, which I just said, we refer everything up to the DA's office that we handle at district court. We also refer matters over to a woman's place and also to NOVA, and we don't just refer them by way of paper. We make that connection, make sure that they have received resources from a woman's place or NOVA, and then follow up with the victim again to make sure they are satisfied with the services that they're getting. And our in-house medical psychologist offers counseling, which has been a phenomenal asset because a lot of the external agencies, such as one particular, a woman's place, does not have the availability to have counseling as quickly as what the in-house counseling has been able to provide.
And we've kept her busy. She's very, very busy. She's grant funded too, under a different grant. So the impact, the short term is, VSU have served, over 2,236 victims of crime, witnesses and survivors. They've increased detective investigations clearance rates, formed a coalition with the external partners. That's what we talked about earlier. Re-victimizations have been reduced by over 486 individuals. And victims are more likely to follow through the criminal justice process and not recant their experience. So this is what 4 years has gotten us, the short term. What we really want is systemic change. Victims of crime trust law enforcement to treat them with compassion and follow through on offenders being held accountable. And you know, in this landscape we're in over the past 4 or 5 years, that is lost. So we're hoping that, you know, we're staying the course and we're seeing the difference. We've done surveys, we've gotten them back, believe it or not. We've gotten a lot of good feedback. It's a great community service to offer your citizens through law enforcement, and it helps your officers too. The officers don't want to be social workers. They don't want to be dealing with that, or even having to call. Some victims keep calling and calling, what's going on with the case, what's going on with the case. We take that right off the officer's plate. They will call Karen or Liz, what's going on. They know what they can share, what they can't share. So that's where we're at. And if you did decide to come on board, the ladies would come and do roll call training to help onboard the officers to the whole idea of how it works. We have an operations manual. We're very clear about it. We don't want the specialists going out on call with these officers. We do not want to put them in any danger. They are not law enforcement. They are civilian staff, and we protect them as such. They will attend at the hospital with an officer and NOVA sometimes, especially if NOVA can't be reached. You guys have been out there. They can be called on 24-hour call out, which we do keep to a minimum and has to go through our captain first, so that they're not being overused. So there's an approval process for everything, and we think we've got it pretty down pat. So, any questions?
So what you're asking of us is to join this, and what you're asking from us is a desk to sit at once a week to embed yourself in our police department.
Yeah, we're offering you to join a wonderful service for your community and to improve police relations. We certainly have our hands full and, but we're able to take on another department, and the way we would do that without increasing staff is we start prioritizing what victims we are helping. You know, if your mailbox gets smashed for the second time 3 weeks in a row, we're not calling. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
If it's slow, we might call you, see how you're doing. But we'll prioritize the cases. Part 1 crimes come first, part 2 comes second. And whether they're working in your building or our building or Doylestown Township, whatever victims they're working with at the time, they're working at. It doesn't matter if we're not just working on your victims when we're here. They are working on the whole scope.
Okay, would you like to add anything?
So, yeah, I'd say, thank you for the presentation. So when I came here, when I first got here, I realized that this is something that was lacking across the county. I came from a department where we had these resources readily available. And it would be an added value and benefit to township residents. Because typically what we do is we give the victims a victim's rate packet, and that's it. There's phone numbers on there they can call and things like that. Having this as a resource will actually get victims to do what they need to do. The repeat domestics that we get, it's the same thing. We don't have the resources to help them deal with those things. Obviously, yeah, I feel it's an added benefit. One of the reason, I had them come and do the presentation is, we want to be part of this. There is the possibility of the grants having a shortfall, and, we would be, we want to commit to this now to be part of that grant. And also, next year in the budget, we would want to budget, up to $5,000 should there be a shortfall. Not saying that they would need that, but we met with them, we met with the other departments that are part of the collaborative effort, and they've all agreed that that's what they're doing, is budgeting that money just in case there's a shortfall, so we can cover it. And it's not even really the salaries that we're covering, it's some of those extra expenses of the laptops and things like that. So that's kind of the ask, to be a part of this, for the board to, support it by, us being able to budget that money next year. Yes, there's definitely a need, and like I said, everything they said we've experienced. Especially with our elderly population, which we do have a very large elderly population, and I think at least monthly we're running across someone who's being scammed, and sometimes it's the same person. And they don't believe us, that this person's scamming them. No matter how we try to explain it to them. So, and we don't have anywhere else, we don't have anybody that we can really call for that. They got to be willing to go talk to somebody. And, if, like I said, we can give them the forms, but if there's no follow-up phone call, more than likely those people aren't going to do anything with that. And, they're going to be further victimized, or they're going to lose out on the opportunity to be compensated, for their, what they've been victimized for.
So you're asking not for this year, but for.
Right, the grant period would start in 2025.
It's a little bit of a dance with grants, when one ends, one begins, and no cost extension and all that fun stuff, if you're familiar with that. But yeah, we would actually, if we get this grant, we would start planning in October, November, December. But we wouldn't onboard New Britain Township until probably second quarter. If not sooner of 25, and that would go for 3 years. Until we hunt down the next one.
Any other questions from the board?
Okay.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, agenda item number 5, motion to consider consent agenda. We have consent agenda A, approved minutes of May 6, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting. B, approved regular bills dated May 16th in the amount of $134,886.61. C, approved prepaid bills dated May 9th, 2024 in the amount of $16,833.91. And May 16th in the amount of $67,590.09. And a consent agenda D, approve escrow release number 2, 84 Schoolhouse Road. Any questions from the board?
No.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mary Beth, do I have a second?
Second.
Stephanie? I call the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Staying on item A, since I was on here.
Passes 4 to 1 abstention. Thank you. Okay, action item 6. Action item A, discuss request from Park and Recreation Committee. Dan or Phil?
This is actually,
Oh. At our last Park and Rec meeting, the board was discussing the possibility of reinstituting the junior marshals and also just regular volunteers. As you know, when we try to put on these events, we need all the help we can get sometimes. And their feeling is that even though we don't have any junior marshals right now, if you get some children that are 13, 14, 15, and they want to get involved, not only for the township, but also it helps on their resume and everything for college. They would like to have the opportunity that we could appoint these 2 girls to the market. So, as far as adding extra people to the Park and Rec, again, you have the board, but then you could also have a bunch volunteers. So they're looking for the possibility of being able to do that at some point in time.
Well, I would say that last year, the board, all of us, Stephanie, Bill, myself, Mary Beth and Greg, we all worked on this to do an ordinance. And we all decided that 5 would be the voting board member. So otherwise we would have to go back and reopen it and do another ordinance. However, I'm not saying that no one can work with the board. If any person, young person works with the township, be it Eagle Scout or anything, if they do something for the township, we can always give them a letter of recommendation for any activity they do. And to me, I see that the whole township is your oyster for volunteers.
Right.
So at the moment, I do not see any reason to open up the ordinance, because that's what we'd have to do to reinstate them. Am I not?
My statement is that we spent hours on this last year. And we all reached the same conclusion and agreed unanimously. We had a junior member listed who didn't attend a meeting in over 2 years. I don't want to get back into that. There's no point in it. The meetings are open to anyone, and any volunteers that want to work with any committee are welcome. but just having. Redoing this and opening this back up again, I'm not in favor of it either. We made a decision. It wasn't a snap decision. It was a unanimous decision, and I'm not willing to reopen it and go back there.
I'm not sure the request is to reopen the ordinance and or to appoint additional voting members. Maybe I'm understanding it incorrectly. And I don't think it was ever our intention to exclude other volunteers either when we revised the ordinance.
Right.
I don't know if there's a way to maybe formalize the volunteer process so that they feel like they have more participation, but I agree that we should not be adding additional voting members at this point. That's something that
That was not. ever-
we talked about, yeah,
That
that
was
we,
not ever the request.
I remember specifically, we decided to do away with this. Junior membership. Because there was no participation. And because it seemed to create some sort of problem. We spent a lot of time discussing it. And I thought we came up with a thoughtful idea. The ordinance was advertised. We didn't hear from anybody on Park and Rec during the whole process last year. And this was ongoing for a couple of months because the ordinance had to be done and so I'm just not willing to reopen a decision we already made unanimously. Anyone can volunteer at any time for anything. They don't need to have a title or we'd have junior members for every committee at that point.
I obviously wasn't here for any of this discussion, so, we did do cleanup and we have a proposal I'll talk about later. 2 kids did come to the first cleanup and helped out, and I would certainly. For the Veterans Committee, for the Little Memorial cleanup, would certainly hope if, I don't know, they are applying to Honor Society or something at their school, that they could come to the township and get a letter. And is that, I mean, I'm not clear as to the as to beyond the,
Years ago.
Yeah.
Well, we used to have, junior members, as I'll call them. They were involved in one of our events throughout the year. And, over the last couple of years, we haven't had anybody. And all that the Park and Rec Board was looking at is the possibility of, if somebody wants to get involved as a junior member, and they be on the committee, not the board, just the committee.
is that different than just coming to a meeting and?
Participating.
yeah, the ordinance as written now doesn't have a separate committee, right?
Well, no, it wouldn't be as a committee, but as a community member, like anyone can come and comment and participate and hopefully have their thoughts be taken into account.
No, I think with their.
I'm sorry, I wasn't here, so I didn't even know what I said.
You come and volunteer and be a volunteer with the committee, can attend the meetings, can attend the events and volunteer. You know, within certain, there can't be unaccompanied minors or anything like that, but as I said, we went through this extensively last year. I'm not willing to reopen it and redo something just because it was done before, so it should continue to be done. I mean, I wasn't even the spearhead of getting rid of them. It was our member who's no longer here, but since we had nobody signing up for those positions, it was decided that that whole thing would be done away with.
Could we create some sort of initiative to encourage young people to get more involved? Just
That's
outreach.
that's what I was trying to,
Just
like,
sort of an
maybe
outreach.
there's a way to formalize getting people in general, whether it's
Yeah.
young people or anyone who wants to volunteer, to let them know that, yes, we do want them to volunteer, we want them to participate without having to amend the ordinance to do that. I mean, I don't
We
think
had
we would
started
need to
that.
do that.
A little bit last year,
Yeah,
with the 300th
right.
anniversary coming up. So there is a form on our website that says, if you would like to volunteer, please sign up.
Maybe we just need to
Maybe
publicize
we need to
that better.
publicize that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, more publicizing that, getting that out to the community, having our committee members share that with their neighbors and friends and having people get involved and really just maybe pushing that.
And participating in the Parks and Rec meetings. If they're gonna volunteer for an event, then they should be here for the meetings and participate in the meetings,
Yeah.
not as a voting member, obviously, but as
Sure,
part of the
yes.
discussion and, yeah.
Don't have to be a voting member to
Right.
be in a discussion.
Right.
We'll make a point in putting in the next newsletter, this type of information saying, while you may not serve on the board, volunteers are always welcome. And yes,
Yeah.
we,
Especially-
yes, we can push that.
Action on B, discussion request from Veterans Committee. Bridget.
Hello. So as I said, we did start with a cleanup for the Veterans Committee of that. Meetings. And we did a cleanup. There was a lot of back and forth, literally up until trying to get some details up until today. We have a member of the VFW, who's a liaison to the Veterans Committee. So not a formal voting member. Chuck Taylor, who is local to the area, who has created and maintained many other memorials in the area. And we threw out the idea of the pots, which was originally was the thought, and it was like that he goes, those need to be watered 2 to 3 times a day if you're not getting enough water. So we went, oh, okay, that's maybe not the best idea. But the reason they had gone to the pots was because of the soil quality. Our public works people have said nothing's going to grow there, but many of times. And so we discussed that again. His brother owns Russell Gardens in Richboro. He has a landscape architect brother, he has another landscape planner, and they went to horticultural college, and they all work together, and he does kind of the physical labor part of it. So he said we can absolutely amend the soil, add organic components to it to improve the soil quality, and it's going to stay. It won't dry up as much if we plant it in the ground. And then we also, you would pick plants that are conducive to the sunlight that's there, or lack of, because some of it's kind of shady. And deer resistant, since we know we have deer that come up and gobble things up. He suggested, spoke with his brother, suggested, mess up the names of these, but one is salvia and lamium, and in sort of a red, white, and blue colors. And then maybe just putting 2 pots. And Chuck even said, he's like, I live down the street, I can come up and water the 2 pots. If it's just 2, not if it's a dozen. And we could do some seasonal colors with that, with some annuals. So that could add some attractive value to our township. People come to our park, they'll see there's pride in our park, there's pride in our veterans. So they've requested up to $1,000 to be used, and they will give receipts. So we won't exceed $1,000, and if there's less is needed, then we won't use the full $1,000 from the Veterans Fund. Does anyone have any questions?
I think it's a great idea.
Mhm.
I'm very happy for the volunteers that are willing to put the time, effort, and planning into it.
Absolutely.
My only caveat would be if we could ask the Veterans Committee to be the ones who are the maintenance people.
Yes.
Of the
I'll make sure
garden.
they're aware of that. Yeah.
Yep, if it requires water, because.
We just need access to water on a regular basis. So I know that there's a faucet out there. Is there always a hose out there?
Yeah, it's right outside my office.
So as long as, so as long as you don't run out of water, I'm kidding. But as long as that hose is there, we have access to that in the growing season, obviously not over winter. That would pretty much be the only real ask, and access to the dumpster. I do know that Chuck went out and deadheaded all of the thistle and then pulled it up by hand. And he was just like, I don't know where to put this, and I don't want the township thinking I'm some rando dumping my trash. So just to let you know, he has been out and about and already started helping even before we got things formally. Yeah, so that's all. We just want to know, we have a problem to go ahead and do that.
Do we need a motion? That's gonna be on.
It's an expenditure, so if you want.
Do I have a motion to approve the request from the Veterans Committee for a budget up to $1,000? Bill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
We'll be very happy. Thank you so much.
Action item C, approved purchase order for Prime Point, which is the payroll system in the amount of $3,570. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mary Beth, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Bridget, any questions, concerns? Hesitation?
First, we do have Kristen with us remotely, we hope.
Mhm.
You there, Kristen?
I don't know, am I? Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yes, all right.
As you know, we have had an issue with the payroll system for forever, and the recommendation is to replace our existing company with Prime Point. We believe that the new payroll system will be more efficient, keep the records we want, and interact with our accounting software program. If I'm saying anything wrong, Kristen, jump in. So we were asking for approval to move forward with this portion of the project tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Question was, this will be a seamless process between now and it should start on the first of
We'll try and roll it out at the beginning of the third quarter.
third quarter.
Third quarter, so July. We will, the way we'll do it is we will do a dummy run or two if we need to. And we will also notify all the employees that it's going to happen. Just so everybody's kept in the loop. We will do our best, and I'm going to say 99.9% that we will not screw up. But if we do, we will make every effort to correct it live as soon as we can. And my commitment is we'll get it done that day. Yes. We will get it done that day. If there's a screw up. Or some, you don't want anybody pay being affected. And I understand that completely, and we'll not let that happen. If it does.
What's the word? Will retain it. So we do have access to hours of support that is part of the money, part of the
Yes.
everything. They are not, this is it, and then we charge per hour.
No, there's a monthly fee for the payroll and all
Yes,
that stuff.
yeah.
Yes, no.
Yeah. Second, so is there any other questions? I call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Okay, action item D, approved purchase order for Cassell, which is the accounting software in the amount of $81,150. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Bridget? Bill will second. Presentation.
Sure. Again, the presentation was given, I guess, several months ago. I believe the first meeting in April. Kristen gave a presentation. Since then, I was able to view the software package. I wasn't on board at the time when she did it. Very happy with the capability. We did go around in circles a little bit. This package includes a budget program, which we currently don't have. So we'll be able to tie our budget into our monthly finance reports. The goal is to make them our finance reports look very similar to the budget that you approve. And that way you just get a level of comfort seeing the same type of information constantly. Right now, our finance reports are done on a encumbered basis as opposed to a cash basis. We operate in a cash world. So we're looking forward to making those changes. There was some question regarding the annual maintenance and support. Granted, this program is more expensive. It is $16,260 or $220 a year in maintenance. And we apologize for the little foul up that occurred in getting that information out. But you have to remember with Edmunds, all we were getting was maintenance. We were not getting any support and we were not getting any updates to the packages. We are going to be using 10 modules, which is significantly more than what we did under Edmunds. So the increase in cost is there, but we believe that the increase is worth the product that we're going to get at the end of the day. Kristen can answer any technical questions if the board may have, but I think that's an overview that should help.
I think one of the main points was that Kristen would not have to do more planning of Excel spreadsheets and everything, so her time would hopefully take out from her and put it into the Excel would make it easier.
Right now,
Her capacity would be able to do that.
basically you have to convert from Edmunds to an Excel spreadsheet to make it information that we can actually understand and interpret. The new system does that for us. What I would ask is if the board does approve this, that we have the contract and the agreement reviewed by our solicitor prior to execution.
And when would we would execute now?
We would execute now after once
Yep.
Scott signs off. The plan would it would be to try and go live with it 1/1/25. And that way we close out 24 in Edmunds. And the closeout actually takes place probably like the second week in February of 25 is when you actually close the books, because you have bills that come in after the fact and you want to try and throw them back into the prior year so you don't knock your new budget out of whack. But we'll be running two systems sort of for a while, but then we'll start all of 25 in the new system, and we have plenty of time to do that. Again, there may be kinks in the way it works, but we will work to get through those kinks as best we can.
System,
Yeah.
always keeps,
Always, always. Nothing is seamless.
but you'll be running both at the same time. so
But
that-
for a period, we will. Yes, yeah. Just to make sure we're comfortable and we're getting the information the way we need it. Kristen, would you like to add anything? Guess not. No, she's there.
Well, if I-
Technology.
while we're waiting for her to reappear. I do have some comments about this. I'm fully in favor of a new system, new accountability. However, having reviewed the contract, I have a lot of concerns with this contract and things that are just plain missing, especially for the $16,000, $220 annual maintenance plan. There's absolutely nothing about that, what that consists of, what we're entitled to, what we're going to get in the contract. The contract seems to be a little spacey. It just doesn't cover any of the necessary points other than what modules we're getting from Cassell. It's really poor and it's really vague. So although I'm in favor of the concept, what we have in front of us today is not acceptable contractually.
So that was was that one of the caveats you were asking for, that we would have the solicitor review the document first? So can we approve it tonight without that, or would you rather us wait until the next meeting?
I think I saw a timeline on this. It gave you 60 days from May 1st, so if we would do it that way, it might be good to just table it until the next meeting and we can approve that.
Okay,
And I can send you my concerns about some things and it just, I need a lot more specificity for what they're proposing other than they give us the time for training. They give us a certain number of hours we're entitled to. But there's absolutely nothing in here about what that 16,000 covers. Nothing.
okay.
But
We will get that information and answer any other questions we may have and be back to you.
So do I need a motion to table?
You would, yes.
All right, please have a motion to table the approval of purchasing Casell.
I'll make a motion to table.
Bill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth, all those in favor, please say aye. Approved.
Sorry.
Let's get a bit in everything's not out.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Okay, action item E, motion to amend resolution 2024-01 for township manager change.
Yes, if I may. When you appointed me, you just appointed me as township manager, which is great. Thank you, by the way. And I really don't want any of those, no, but in your reorganization in January, you identified the township manager and actually John Granger by name in various committees, boards, whatever. All this would do is make a motion to name the township manager, replace John Granger. And the way to phrase it is the township manager or their designee. If I can't make a meeting, I can send somebody else to those different spots throughout the reorganization resolution.
The only one you missed was the very first one. You didn't highlight the very first, that's township manager.
Well, you already did that.
Yeah.
That's the one you covered. Assistant treasurer, okay. Oh, I see that, yeah.
Yes.
Bridget, second, Stephanie.
When we do this, can we also update all the other changes that have been made? For Park and Recreation Board or the zoning hearing board,
In the document?
the EAC, these are our appointments. So if we're gonna do a resolution to do a new,
We're not doing a resolution, we're just amending this by motion.
Okay.
The other appointments you've already made are basically, you've amended them by those motions. When it comes time to do the resolution again, and we'll come up with actually a little easier form to do it in 2025. Well, so,
Okay, so I have, motion second, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Action item F, resignation of Terry Young from vacancy board chair position.
yes, as you know, you appointed Terry Young to the zoning hearing board. And being a member of the zoning hearing board, he is prohibited from being a member of any other board or commission, and that's spelled out in the municipality's planning code. He submitted a letter of resignation and the board should act on that letter.
Okay, do I have a second? Bill, all those in favor, please say aye. Motion passes. Okay, approve appointment to the vacancy board chair position. So
Then-
since we now have made a vacancy in that position, we need to appoint someone.
That's,
So I
Board.
ask for nominations from the board of supervisors.
I would nominate Sarah Bayek.
Do we have any other nominations? No, do I just do a roll call?
you need a second.
Oh, do I have a second, please?
Second that nomination.
Bridget? Okay, and we will do it alphabetically, since we started that precedent last time, which starts with me. I think, yes, Jake, yes, I vote yes. Okay, Bridget?
Oh, yes.
You forgot the other J.
Oh, yeah, and you should go first because you're Bill. Bill?
Really, that's funny.
Yeah.
I'll vote yes, Stephen, aye.
Yes. Ready?
Me, I vote yes.
And Stephanie.
I'll abstain because I don't know Sarah.
We had Sarah, she came in front of us just before the zoning hearing board and she said
And
she was
resigned.
in.
Or withdrew her application,
Yes.
so she didn't talk to us or anything.
So then we pass that with a 4.
401.
There we go. Thank you. Okay, that is the end of our action items. I will start now with the information items, department reports.
If you want to go first.
Sure.
Throw him under the bus.
Of course, you had my initial report was submitted. What I'll highlight on there is that on May 30th and May 31st, we will be having our assessors come in to do the accreditation assessment. Spoke with the consultant today, and we did a walkthrough of the building. And she feels that we're fine and everything should go up. Yes, we did. Yes, very well received. With the total, I forgot my breakdowns on that, but I mean, the total was 286 pounds, but that included our 2 boxes, the one we have out here and the one we have downstairs. But it was, yeah, we're collecting sharps now too, so. We've had some people turn in some sharps and everything for us, to us.
Alex is going to update on the website and the e-cycle.
Yes, so we're starting a project to kind of revamp the township website. So I've been reaching out to local other townships with similar sizes to get a feel for what they have used, companies they've used. And I've been reaching out to their those providers to see, you know, what they could do for us and get a feel for what we would like to see and kind of how we would like our website to look. To just kind of get a feel and see how we want ours to be set up, either in a similar capacity or just kind of a new face and get that project started. So that's going to take probably the better part of a year to get underway from start to finish. So probably somewhere in 2025, that's going to be wrapped up and pretty like about.
And that's starting from complete scratch.
Yes, yeah, from start to finish.
I will ask the supervisors also to take a look at other towns' websites.
Mhm.
And that's the information alone.
Yeah,
That just helps us build the documents.
yeah.
And they had some. It was.
Mhm.
They put it, you should see it loud, and yeah. Maybe that, those kinds of things would be. Successful.
Exactly. So if there's features that you like that you see on a website, send them my way. Exactly. Exactly. So just send them my way and I can reach out to either their office or their, you know, website coordinator and get details. Nice. And then we had the e-cycle event on May 4th. That was very successful. So we worked with Par Recycling. We collected over 2,700 pounds of e-cycling bits. So we just submitted the grant through the Bucks County Planning Commission to get all that money back. And I've been working with Chalfont Borough to get their money back as well. So we had 2 of their employees help us as well as 2 of our Public Works employees work that day. So we're excited that that kind of kicked off and worked out really well. I've also been in talks with other supervisors from our local kind of municipalities. We're hoping to do another event like this in the fall. Because we know that the residents want the shredding back. It kind of fell through this time, but we're hoping to have it in the fall as well.
I had missed the shredding.
There was a miscommunication with the person who originally planned it prior to me being involved. So I don't know what happened with that, but it doesn't matter. Right, the shredding didn't happen, but the e-recycling did. So we're hoping to remedy that come the fall, and then we'll have both. So.
Thanks, Alex. I'm gonna update a couple of the other department reports. You know that there was no planning commission meeting canceled for that planning. So there really isn't much. Pardon me, jump in and report, cover some of that. And Public Works, the road bank mowing has started. Please be safe, be cognizant of the fuel system upgrade project is got underway today. They're working police department first on our.
They're kind of working simultaneously.
Okay.
They have started, they've prepped everything here today, and I believe they prepped everything at Public Works today. They're gonna start with us tomorrow morning to do the removal and installation, and probably do some work over at Public Works tomorrow as well.
And then completed in a day or two?
That'd be optimistic.
Yeah.
Let's just say the weather's cooperating. Okay.
And so by the end of the week maybe, but then we'd have to schedule for fuel to be delivered, so it might not be operational.
Right, but it is moving, and so it did get started. Also, we'll be receiving bids on Wednesday for the Brittany Farms project, the stream bank project, and the road program. We're having a pre-bid meeting on Wednesday, and those bids are due next week
Wednesday, the May 29th will be the bid opening.
for the road project. Right. The last time I do that. And the parks, obviously, they've been busy with the grass cutting. You just have to look out there tonight to see all the fields are being used, and it's a great thing. The other thing that happened is Delaware Valley Insurance Trust was in this week or last week to do our safety review. They went with the chief and walked his facility, the parks to walk all their facilities, and Public Works. There's always a few little findings, nothing that's gonna rattle somebody's brain. But we'll take care of the little ones that we can. If there's anything that requires any major expenditures, certainly come to the board, but we don't anticipate that. There may be some things that just can't be done under current circumstances, but Divot's very happy with us. And the last item I have is that somewhere along the line, the Verizon franchise agreement was dropped back, I'm going to say February of 23, I believe it was. All the franchise agreements have been redone. The consortium worked with a law firm to do the negotiations. Everything was ready to come before the board. For whatever reason, it didn't get here. So Scott and I are going to get that moving, get it teed up, and get it through to the board. And within the there's some steps that have to be done. There's an ordinance, so you'll need to authorize and advertise an ordinance, but it'll be wrapped up midsummer at the latest. That's all I have. If you have any questions on any of my stuff, feel free.
Quite a few, right? The Neshaminy Greenway Trail, where do we pull up that?
I'm actually reading the report now. The contractor finished the paving. Actually, I think Ryan mentions in his reports in the packet, so I wasn't gonna add anything to it. I think it's a nice pictures in there. Public Works, it's in their hands now to finishing everything up. So we have no issues right now. It looks good. I haven't walked the whole thing yet, but I know probably someone else has already multiple times. Everything's good. They'll be doing a final payment. They were trying to wrap things up. I don't you need to wait till the next meeting next month. No rush to pay the contract. It was final payment. So I have no issues, and Public Works, I mean, Ryan's now it's point person for the
Right.
rest of the.
So when could we schedule a ribbon cutting?
We'll get back to you on that.
Because that would be really good to have that. I mean.
Yeah, no, that's a good.
for us. So.
No. Yeah,
Before summer.
and then, and then make, our residents a little more familiar with the Coleman property and the trailhead there. I think August, what, or six should be.
You're just teasing.
Let's make sure it's done before we do that. Looks like there's still some work to be done, but.
I think it's planting and
Yeah,
cleaning up some stuff.
I think they're working on the parking lot too.
Doing it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's-
The parking lot, they're finishing up, Ryan had mentioned that today, that they're done.
She'll like people.
I'm sure, but I don't have ribbon cutting till we're ready for the nice yellow tape to be gone.
No.
Because I won't be hearing all this.
I know.
That's a nice fall thing. Like the trees are turning colors, right?
Leaves falling down from trees, slippery.
No, September.
Do it the right time, we need the right
September.
color right on that fall line.
September.
Before the next newsletter.
Well, yeah.
Answer them first.
Good idea.
Done, finished?
No,
No.
no.
No, more.
I know we, well, those were the items, as far as the, township is concerned. Regarding land development, we did complete our Dunkin' Donuts review. Plan hasn't changed since you saw it, next time, but we anticipate a lot of technical comments on a site that small, so. Reason the planning commission was canceled is Dave, what we're doing now is Dave and I are communicating on, is it right to go to the planning commission? I feel like if it goes to the planning commission, they feel like they got a shot to come to the board, and with longer reviews, I think the message was clear from the board to the staff and myself that you like to see plans that are clean and ready to go. So Dave and I have been discussing every time the letter's done. They didn't even ask to attend the meeting, we just said they're not ready. I've gotten a call, I don't believe Scott has gotten a call yet, so it's kind of strange we saw a lengthy review on a job like that. I expect to get it done in days to not set up a staff meeting, it's just really technical. That I'll be. So what we're doing, the reason planning commission was canceled is if the jobs aren't ready to go, then we're just not gonna have them come. We said waste time with planning commission with the board. The other thing I did want to mention, I know Dan's still getting up to speed, but Mr. Larson from the authority, sewer authority, there's a bunch of small projects and a couple big ones that are done that Dan wasn't here for. I really think we need to revisit the process of approvals. I think you signed one on Friday for EDU sewage capacity. So that was a job that was done and approved for 98 Railroad several years ago. And then we have other jobs that are coming asking for sewage capacity EDUs for public sewer. And they haven't even gone through all the process yet. And with a lot of new people at the authority in here, I think it's probably important for Dan and myself and a few others just to agree on process and then present it to you, because right now the forms aren't coming to you. They go to the authority board for approval, but if your job's already approved, you approve the land development. I think Dan agrees. You approve the project, we just have to do the paperwork. But certain projects always don't come in front of you. And the staff has to handle signing off on EDU certificates and advising the authority to allocate an EDU or 2 or 3. So I think we need to look at that, revisit that process. Each manager's different based on experience. Way back in the day, that used to come in front of this board, and somewhere in the last 10, 15 years, we've been handled administratively.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's the right thing to do with staff, myself. It depends on each project, but I'd like to revisit that. And it's a good time to get up to speed with the Act 537 amendment that was put on hold right now. I haven't heard from John. I mean, I know they didn't want to spend more money, and I was waiting for Dan to get up, kind of catch his breath, so.
Thanks.
Probably a good time to revisit that, and then Dan and I will update you in the summer, early fall. That's all I have.
Nothing else? All right, supervisors comments. I'm gonna start with Stephanie down this end for a change. Stephanie.
I don't have anything tonight.
Bill?
I think I'm fine at this point.
Maribeth?
I just want to thank our staff for working on the projects and getting things going to improve the township, and Chief bringing in the victim services who would like to see us join that. I hope the board is thinking likewise. I wasn't here, so I don't know what happened with the cleanup or, but it sounds like everything went well. And I just want to thank everyone for participating in. Bridget?
Yep, so we have, just an announcement, for the future that the Veterans Committee meeting will now be held at 6 p.m. It lines up better with the VFW meeting, which follows afterwards. And that is the third Wednesday of every month. So I was told to just make an announcement and hopefully that's correct. And then the second announcement would be, with the approval, we had a tentatively held date, if it got approved, for June 8th, starting at 8 a.m. right in the back. If anyone wants to come and lend a hand and bring some gardening tools and gloves, and if you can't come for all the time, you could come for an hour or two. Any help? And we'll get it up on the website, so, I will contact Gal. She said that she would get that up on the website to hopefully get some community members out.
Great.
Maybe.
Okay.
I know that's my goal. It's okay.
Yeah, no, moment, so we have announcements. The building will close this Friday at 1 p.m. for the Memorial Day, which will also be closed on May 27th. We have our Park and Rec meeting on the 21st, and we have our EAC on May the 23rd. Our next Board of Supervisors meeting will be on Monday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. in this building. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Stephanie, do I have a second?
I'll make that motion.
Mary Beth, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you all. Pleasure doing business.